This is the WFNY BrownsCast post-game show. I'm your host, Joe Gilbert. I'm going solo for one more time as Taylor finishes up his honeymoon. Um, as I said, this is WFNY BrownsCast, part of the Evergreen Podcast Network, and we are brought to you by today Underdog Fantasy. For first-time depositors, enter the code WFNY at checkout, and Underdog will match your deposit up to $100. Underdog has is a great platform if you're tired of the DFS salary system. There are tons of game types and game drafts every night of the week for every sport. Don't forget to use WFNY at checkout to get your first time deposit matched up to $100. That is Underdog Fantasy. So yeah, how about that win, huh? Just when you think the Browns are could be done, they pull you back in. That was a fun game. That was the most complete game of the season, and all three phases of the team outperformed the opponent. They beat the Bengals on all three phases of the game. That was great. Let's start off with the defense. The defense was outstanding. This is they're continuing off a really strong week from last week. As they played well against the Ravens, and this week they might have been even better. They held the Bengals to 13 points. Really strong Bengals offense. Yes, it was missing Jamar Chase, but one player shouldn't be able to derail a team, and the Browns took advantage, and they really dominated the Bengals offense. The pass rush was the player of the game. Myles Garrett was just a unbelievable player. He had what did he finish up with? He had 1.5 sacks, four quarterback hits. He was the defensive player of the year today. He showed why he should be in the running for defensive player of the year. He just dominated. He affected the game in so many ways. The turnover, the tip pass. It was an amazing performance by Myles Garrett and the whole pass rush. It wasn't just him. They were getting pressure from all over. The Bengals offensive line is just absolutely horrendous, and it was great to see, and it was a complete game performance. The secondary played well. They didn't have any coverage busts or anything like that. They even late in the game, they didn't give up anything easy, like we saw in the Jets game where they would completely just give up easy score and got the Jets back into the game there. They didn't allow that. They didn't give up anything easy at the end, and that's great to see. Could this be a turning point for Joe Woods? Who knows? This is two straight performances of really strong play for the defense. We'll see how that kind of transpires after the bye week this week. But that was a great performance by the defense. MJ Emerson played really well. He kind of stepped up with Greedy Williams sick today, and then Denzel Ward obviously out with a concussion. That we need the Browns needed one of their cornerbacks to step up, and MJ Emerson just played unbelievably well. He played well in coverage. He was physical, tackling. He's showing like he was a steal. He's really showing that he's starting to turn into something really strong for this defense. Probably the unsung hero of this defense was Sione Takitaki. He turned into the Mike today. With Jacob Phillips out and kind of Deion Jones kind of going in, not full time yet. Sione Takitaki played extremely well. He showed he was always a strong tackler. And he came out and he helped lead a very swarming defense that we haven't seen this year. I can't say enough about how swarming this whole entire defense was. It was great. an impressive performance. They just attacked the Cincinnati Bengals. They didn't allow them to have any kind of breathing room. They didn't really respect the Bengals' run game, and the Bengals really didn't even try to run. And the Browns kind of knew what they were going to do. They were going to try to beat them in the pass game, and the Browns were ready. They dominated the trenches. I talked about this in the pregame show, preview show, that the Browns needed to win the trenches, and they did on both sides of the ball. They did it in dominating fashion on both sides of the ball. But the pass rush was just so dominant. I think we're going to see tomorrow. Myles Garrett might have one of the top grades of of anybody in Week 8 here. Um, so it could be. It's gonna be a fun one to watch again, because it was another week where we saw the pass rush kind of the attack the backfield, and that's what you need when you're struggling in the back end, and you have such a dominant kind of two edge rushers in Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett. You gotta lead with the pass rush, and they did that today, and it was great to see. I can't say enough about how that defense stepped up. Joe Woods, we talked about. I thought he would be fired. He should have been fired a couple weeks ago, but hey, I guess he heard us. He heard the noise, and he has his guys just playing so well, so well. And that was two straight performances. They keep improving on their performances because this is the best they've shown all year. 13 points to Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense is pretty impressive. And a lot of the scoring at the end was kind of in kind of throwaway time. So it was just a great performance. And so shout out to the defense. That was the player of the game. The defense was the player of the game. They kept them in. The offense kind of struggled early on in the first quarter and a half or so. Took them a while to kind of get going, and the defense just shut down the Bengals for most of the game. I would say all the game, and they are the players of the game there. And there wasn't really any kind of breakdowns or anything. It was just one of the most complete games we've seen from that defense. On special teams, Browns won the special teams battle. Who saw that coming? Evan McPherson had two missed field goals. Caden York had a great 55-yard field goal. Started off with a block field goal, but he really turned it around and kind of got the scoring going. End of the half, they needed to put on some more points, and he had a very clutch 55-yard field goal to kind of get the scoring going, starting heading into the half. The special teams was a good performance from them. They had two missed field goals against them, so yeah. So shout out to Mike Briefer, I guess. For at least for 1 week, he had his guys ready, and he had his team had his guys kind of playing well and outperformed the opposing team. So shout out to the special teams. And then on offense, what can you say about Jacoby Brissett, man? He had just an exceptional game. Besides just a couple times in the first half where he kind of took a nap in the backfield and allowed the pass rush to get to him, and he had a turnover. It was a really impressive performance from Jacoby. He completed 17 of 22 passes for 278 yards and one touchdown for 133.7 passer rating. That's just a great performance. 12 yards per throw. Compared to Joe Burrow, if you go to Joe Burrow's, his average was 6.6 yards per throw. So it just shows you the success Jacoby was getting through the air. He was taking big chunk plays and being successful, and it's obviously his top throwing mate was Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was great. He was the guy that this team hoped he would be when he when they acquired him for a 5th-round pick. We appreciate that, by the way, Dallas. Thank you. 131 yards on 5 catches and 1 touchdown. Just a dominant performance. He was getting all open all day. He made some really impressive catches, and his route running was just superb, like always. And that's what you need. He stepped up, and Donovan Peoples-Jones also stepped up. He got open also too quite often. He had 4 catches for 81 yards. It was a great showing by Donovan to kind of step up with David and Njoku out. They needed those two to really step up, and getting over 200 yards combined is stepping up for this offense. So that was great to see. And then just getting into the pass game, it showed today that the passing game kind of opened up the run game. It really did, because early on the run game did not have much success. It took a while for it to get going, and it kind of got opened up when Jacoby and Amari and Donovan were kind of get going. Especially in the second half, it got going because the passing game was exploiting them, so they couldn't kind of load the box anymore. They had to honor the pass rush or passing game. So that kind of led to Nick Chubb having a really great game. 23 carries for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was unusual, back to the usual Nick Chubb game. 4.4 yards per carry. Just dominance in the red zone, scoring 2 touchdowns, plowing over people, finding little gaps in the line. He was great. Kareem Hunt kind of did well, put in 42 yards on 11 carries. And then Jacoby Brissett also added a really clutch touchdown run in the red zone. So he added a rushing game. So the rushing offense had 172 total yards. So that was a really successful day. But as I said, the passing game really opened up this rushing attack. They needed to kind of open it up and make the defense have to honor the pass game, and they did that. And then the running attack kind of was able to be the usual kind of closer, kind of put this game to bed late in the game. The run game kind of put it to bed. So really, just a complete game on all 3 phases of the game, and then just throughout the units, like the run game, the pass game, the secondary, the pass rush, special teams, kicking return, kick return, pass, field goal. It was just a complete team victory, and we haven't seen that all year. We haven't seen a complete performance from this team all year. Even in their victories, the defense would struggle. So it was great to see, and I can't say enough about this. The Browns coming. They were against the wall here. This was a must win. There was no there's no backing out here. It was 2-5. If they turned 2-6, that was probably ball game. So this was a huge must win, and they got it done. As I said, the offensive line and defensive line just dominated the game. Heading into the game, that was the keys. That was one of my big keys, winning the trenches, and they did that. Run game, it's just especially in the pass game, they allowed Jacoby to have some time to throw. Had a lot of time actually for most of the game, and then the run game kind of opened up once the pass game was being successful, and they really, the offensive line is once again the bread and butter of this offense, and they delivered just like the pass rush did on defense. But yeah, it was a fun game. We finally had one of those games where we can just just enjoy the win. There hasn't been a lot of joy this season. It really hasn't. Um, I we've talked about it every kind of even post game shows. It's been a drag season. I came into this one having no expectations. I didn't have high hopes really, and I was pleasantly surprised. This team stepped up. Uh, as I said, against with their backs against the wall, they needed to win, and they did. They are now 3-5 on the season, and back in the playoff race. They're what 2 games behind Baltimore, who I believe is 5-3 to lead the division, but only 1 game behind Cincinnati and 1 game up on Pittsburgh. So they are still right in the thick of things in this playoff race. They're 2-1 in the division, which is huge because Bengals are 0-3 now, and let me see what Baltimore is. In the division, Baltimore is they have the win obviously against Cleveland, but in the division they are 2-0. So Bengals are winning. They have the kind of the edge there so far, but if you really look at the kind of the playoff race here, and just kind of besides the division, in the playoff is a let's see, it is a 4-3 team. So the Chargers are in the playoffs at 4-3. So they're only 2 games behind, both in the division and in the wild card. So the playoffs are still in the balance, even after this kind of really rough start. After this, these last 4 weeks were have been rough, and the Browns have come out of it still standing somehow. It's kind of luck of the draw because of how kind of poor the division and like the AFC conference is kind of struggling to kind of put struggling to kind of pull away. No one's really pulling away besides a couple teams. So it's the Browns are taking advantage, and they're still in it. They're going into a bye week, going into the trade deadline. Could have gone either way. This loss could have kind of started the trade of like Kareem Hunt and maybe Greedy Williams. But with that win, I think it might kind of they may become buyers. We'll see. They may just sit still and not do anything, but we'll see. It was a game changing, season changing win. It really was. They could have gone 2 ways. They could have just with a loss. They could have just been done. They could have just packed it up, and it would have been a really big uphill battle. They would have been 3 games behind the division and 1-2 in the division. That would have been an uphill battle, but getting this victory puts them right back in it, and they're heading into the bye kind of with good spirits. They get some good rest here with 2 weeks off, and we head into the next part of the schedule, which is going to be tougher, but it's not as tough as kind of what we were expecting. Miami is kind of falling off a little bit. They're struggling a tad. Buffalo is still Buffalo, so that's going to be a really tough one. But Tampa's not playing that well. Houston is struggling, and Cincinnati we just beat. So, yeah, it's still right in front of you. And Jacoby Brissett is coming back in 3 games now. There's only 3 games left. Not Jacoby. Deshaun Watson is coming back in 3 games after this bye week. There's 3 more games left for Jacoby Brissett to play, and then you get your franchise quarterback back. And if they are somehow still in this playoff race, that's what you kind of hope to be when you were heading into the season. Just give Watson and this team a chance to kind of finish it off, and the Browns are there. It was a great win. just one of those wins that kind of emptied out the bad. Not it didn't really completely wash away all the bad kind of feelings around this team, but it was just for a day. It was great to see this team just play a complete game, have a fun game where they just kind of blew the opponent out, and it wasn't really a contest for pretty much a half a game. It was pretty much not a contest, and that's great to see. It was it sort of reminded me of a Cavs victory. The Cavs have been kind of blown out guys, and it was fun to see this kind of go over to the Browns today. So yeah, I can't say enough how fun this game was, and how big the victory was, and how huge it was heading into this bye week to be 3-5 rather than 2-6. That was this is we could look back at this win as a turning point in this season. We'll see, obviously, but it's a huge just going into the bye week with a win. They go to coming out of the bye. They go to Miami and Buffalo, so it's going to be a tough two road game stretch there. But we'll see. It's going to be a fun one to see how this team finishes up. But it kind of this was a good kind of example of what this team can be if they really play up to their potential. This defense showed that they have the ability. The offense showed us they had the ability, and the special teams showed they had the ability. It's just about kind of executing, and they executed today, and we'll see if they can execute the rest of the season. But I can't say enough how great that victory was and how important it was. But yeah, it was huge game, and we'll see how they come out of the bye week. They should come into it with high hopes. Good excitement is showing that they have the potential to be a really good team, because they blew out a really good Bengals team. Yeah, they were missing a couple guys, but the Browns were too, and they didn't wallow in their losses. They came back and wiped the floor with the Bengals. So that was huge to see, and we'll see how they come out in 2 weeks versus Miami. See if they can kind of build off of this victory. So other than that, yeah, it's a lot not a lot other to say, but that was great to see. Um, it was just a fun time to finally have a game where the whole entire team played well, and then you can't really come out of it with any kind of sore feelings about any part of the team. So thanks for joining me. This was the WFNY BrownsCast post game show. Late on a Monday night, Halloween. Happy Halloween to everybody. It wasn't a frightful night for the Browns, which was a great sign. So yeah, thanks for joining me. This is a WFNY BrownsCast, part of the Evergreen Podcast Network, and thanks, and go Browns.